just giving our last talk on digital as an enabler for cultural transformation.
It's a really long time.
Over to you.
Excellent. Right, okay, so first of all, thanks everybody for coming along tonight. I know most of you could be at home relaxing up on the sofa, so for most of us that are here, particularly those presenting, thanks so much for your time. I need you to do me one quick thing before we start. Bear with me, it might not be your thing, but I need you to do it all the same. So just put your hands out like that for me. It's just a quick test I do, see how alert people really are. Backs of your hands towards each other. You can do it with a smile on your face as well, it might make a difference. Right, excellent. Wiggle your fingers, but be very, very careful as you bring your hands together like that. And as you bring your hands together, I want you to just hold your fingers. That's it, great. And after 3, do this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Just a very quick test to let me know kind of where you're at. I know it's very late in the evening, so it gives me a good starting point. Right, so first and foremost, my name's Bertie Tonks. I'm a dad. I'm probably a rubbish husband. But who I am beyond that is a skateboarder, and I've been skateboarding now for 36 years. Very proud of that fact. That's who I am. Actually, that's what defines me. What I do is HR stuff, people and culture. So I'm the global director of people and culture for a company called Collinson. What I'm going to do is I'll just do that, and then I don't have to go into any detail. Great. So just a very quick prelude then, because the story that I'm about to share actually is not about creating success. It's not actually about the results at the very end. Actually, the story I want to share, and the big takeout that I want to really, really start to think about, is the attitude that drives this. Because I'm very fortunate. I come into work every day, and I've got to tell you, I'm one of the luckiest people that I know. I don't know many of my friends, colleagues, anybody in my family or network that come into work every day and genuinely feel that I'm lucky because I enjoy what I do. Part of that actually is because I'm also fortunate enough to work with a bunch of people who are really passionate too. I've been in my company now for 6 years, and one of the first things that I did when I took on my current role 2 years ago was to rip up the organisation structure. And I interviewed 50 of my team globally, and I redesigned our organisation structure based on what people were passionate about and where they're really strong. I've lost one person in 2 years, which I'm really proud about, and do you know what? That approach makes such a huge difference. The thing about culture, and actually Patty McCord, who wrote the culture book at Netflix, I remember reading that, and the biggest thing that came out for me, really popped, was her expression when she said, every day, hundreds, if not thousands of people walk into our companies, and the moment they walk across the door, we take away all their power. Our controls, our systems, our lack of accountability, our processes, all of that stuff absolutely has a place. It's an important place for most, but we have to be really conscious of the fact that if we're not careful, we drown out all opportunities for more potential. So, on to the presentation. So, this for me is culture. It's about, it's interesting to hear both speakers talk about purpose, but it's a real mishmash of complexity around human interactions and organisation science and the drive for profitability, as ugly as that might sound sometimes. And let's not escape the fact too that it's also about a fight for survival. Because if we don't keep on changing, I hate to say, because I think I remember hearing this 5-10 years ago, it's a bit tired, but we've got to keep changing, we've got to keep evolving. Because if we don't, there's far too many, we've got a lot of startups in the room today. These are the people that we watch out for. These are the people that everybody should be watching out for in the world of business today. Because you know what? With a bit of buy-in, some good backing, startups can gain, as we've seen, can gain an enormous ground really, really quickly. So, what I love about this, actually, the complexity of culture, is that we can unpick that. And I think, although I work for a company which is about 2,200 people, so I appreciate for many people in here, you'll be thinking, I can't really relate to that, because that doesn't feel like my world. Again, it's the attitudes that go behind what I'm talking about is my takeaway for you. We can start to unpick culture. There are a number of really powerful frameworks out there, like the McKinsey 7S model, if you've not come across that, which looks at culture in terms of strategy, structure, and systems, what they call the hard stuff. And then there's the softer elements related to people, without going into too much detail. There's also something really cool called the cultural web, which talks about kind of rituals and routines. If you're interested, I would definitely urge you to have a look at that. The reason that frameworks like that are really good is because they can help us as practitioners in whatever realm start to unpack and organise culture by the elements that we can really, really start to tackle. Why I'm here today is to talk about digital. So my company, eight months ago, we literally had, I think our communication was a quarterly newsletter which was produced. By the end of today, you'll see a lot of what I'm talking about here has happened within 8 months. Very little money thrown at this. This is the attitudes behind this that mean that we have not taken no for an answer. So next slide, thank you. So Act 1 then. Ordinary world, extraordinary company. So let me tell you a little bit more about Collinson to give you a bit of a flavour, thank you. So this is my founder. About 30, 40 years ago, he was a developer and he was a programmer really early, right, for an early starter. But he recognised there was an opportunity to develop a business. The business I'll talk about in a moment, his sons now work in that business as CEOs, joint CEOs. Has a really interesting level of complexity. It's a family-run business, so complexity multiplied, but things happen, great things happen. So at Collinson, the people, our customers are at the heart. I hear a lot of companies talk about that, but honestly, for us, every single one of our people feels that every day. We have a lot of people in our company who love working where we are, but I'm not going to paint it all roses, right? We also have an enormous amount of people, unfortunately, that hate it, that can't connect with who we are or what we're about. And the majority of those tend to be the leavers within the first year of joining. We're complex, so we're 24 countries, 2,200 people. We have matrix structures where we've got dotted lines and reported lines. It's that first image of the tangle there of the wires. That's us. But again, we make great things happen. The need for change. So scene 2 of this story is that we used to be 30, 40 people. We used to be a startup. And as we've grown and grown, which has happened massively, we've doubled in figures in the last 6 years since I've been in the company. It's been harder and harder to control. We hate the C word, corporate. In fact, we denounce that, so we don't want too much structure. We don't want to corporatise. We don't want too much process and the things that drown out creativity and innovation. But you know what? When you get to 2,200 people, you need more of it. You need more of that structure because otherwise the system, the organisation system, starts to struggle to perform. We've got outmoded ways of working and processes. So the way that we do business in our company, until the last 2 years, was pretty much the same for the 38 years that were before that. We've made significant shifts, which is the story I want to share. Ultimately, the world's changed, so we've had to really, really reinvent the way that work gets done. And very often we find that things are way too hard than they really needs to be. We see startups coming from nothing and starting to bite at our tails at a rapid rate of knots, and we're like, how do they manage to gain so much ground so quickly? It's because they're not bound by the baggage of the past. They are reinventing, they're looking around and saying, what are other companies doing that we can learn from, we can leapfrog, and that we can start to be more successful much quicker. But you know what, at Collinson, in our blood is creativity and innovation. What we found is the bigger we've got, the harder that is to keep nurturing and make it surface to the top. That's enough about Collinson, because you're probably not that interested in Collinson. More around what we're doing. So Act 2 then, which is the birth of the new world, and this is where the main story actually happens. So, scene 3 is around creating a sea of change. Go back. Right. That's it, one more, that's it, and I'll do it all in once. So, what we figured out about 2 years ago is that, to some degree, we were starting to lose our essence. we went from 151 different operating companies to one company in the last 3 years. We had an enormous amount of different cultures, practices, ways of working, and we lost our strength. We'd become too big without really focusing on what really made us special and unique, and really understanding what our strengths were. What we decided to do was to focus on, because if you're trying to affect culture, how many of you here are responsible for affecting culture in any way? Great. Where the bloody hell do you start, right? So for us, we had this really big light bulb moment, which is, tell you where you start. You start by identifying key touch points of culture that people interact with every day. So forget culture as this huge thing. If you really want to make big changes quickly, identify the key touch points for culture, because that is your opportunity. Meetings. Let me just drop that one in as a very simple, obvious example. I'm going to give you more as we go through. What we started to do too was to make sure we were very clear about, as a global company, where are our key levers? Where do we have people who were passionate about doing something a bit different, who were committed to challenging people, committed to challenging the status quo and putting themselves out there to represent? We identified those people. We spent a lot of time engaging them. We spent a lot of time actually receiving a lot of pushback and a lot of not aggression, but a lot of fight and commitment towards actually changing something, changing the way that we've always worked. Because you know what? We're a £1 billion company with no external debt. So the 35 or so years that we've existed, you know what? We've been doing some stuff that's pretty good, right? Because not many companies can attest to doing what we've done. But we know we absolutely need to change. Change or die, let's be that dramatic. So, what I was experiencing were a lot of conversations around technology. People saying, you know what, we're doing so much transformation, and a lot of that is relying on technology around the business. New systems, integrating platforms, technology, ways of working. So mostly focused around our platforms, technology, our technical debt, as we might describe it. So when we looked at that, actually our initial thoughts was, well, that's a shame, because the only way we're really going to solve our challenges is by using technology to overcome it. So guess what, people? We need to start introducing even more technology. At a time when, in fact, even now, see people still in certain corners of the world are still pushing back very hard on us. So there's also change readiness. So we've got some amazing people at Collinson. We've got a lot of people who just don't want to change, right? Not only don't we have people that don't want to change, we have people who what I call change fatigue. They've done it. Like, here's another Bertie Tonks coming in, and another person that feels that I can change the world. And yet, 2 years later, we know they're going to go because they're going to run out of steam like all the others that came before them. This happens, right? But this change fatigue, we have to give a lot of respect to that, actually. Because they may have been, these people may have been highly motivated and geared up for change in the past. But what really is important, I think, is when we start any journey around transformation, we've got to see it through to the end. We've got to change tax, to your boating analogy. We have to do that very, very quickly. But you have to see it through to the end. Small incremental changes when we're looking at any kind of cultural transformation is the stuff that's going to make the big, big difference. Fast, incremental, speedy changes, they're the things that are going to get you across the line. I think the days of these big, huge culture change programs, they're over, man. I've worked in organisations where we've driven that activity. As a consultant for 4 years, I was in the Middle East for 6 years, all types of companies, and generally speaking, it's not working. There's a solution. Active passive aggressiveness is always a beautiful one, right? You know the people that say, yeah, I'm on board. Yeah, and it's like, you idiot. They have no desire or willingness whatsoever to follow the journey, and that takes us on to our next scene. Let's take a pause for a second. And another one. Nearly there? One more? Yeah. Just get it off of that one. Great. We reinvented our meeting culture. So how many of you work work agile methodology. Brilliant. So you know this, right? So I'm in an enormous amount of meetings. One of the key things that we took from agile, which is actually we're doing a lot of work around agile across every discipline of our business at the moment, but was the now our leadership team monthly meetings and even our weekly meetings are 3 minutes timed, which is what did you do last week? What are you doing this week? What are you doing next week? And then we have 2 minutes at the end for open conversations around anything that we want to dig deeper in. For our leadership meetings, we have an extra half an hour at the end of those meetings assigned to deeper dive on anything that's come up. It's transformed our meetings. But the other thing we've done is we've introduced Zoom, and we've got a whole load. We've got Microsoft Teams and Office. So we're also now putting faces behind the. This didn't exist 8 months ago, but we're now able to connect with our people properly. And I appreciate many of you are probably already doing this, but for a big corporate, or fairly large corporate beast like ourselves, this has been quite revolutionary for us. Great, thank you. Each meeting, there's not a single meeting that takes place in our business now, not a single one, that doesn't start off with, what do we want to get out of this meeting? Every single meeting globally now, I'm pretty rest assured, starts with that. Because how many of you attend meetings and you just kind of, you start and you just kind of go through the motions and you're not really clear about what is it we're looking to get out of this? What's our key takeaway? Believe me, I know it sounds ridiculously simple, but this kind of focus just literally changes the game. So the other thing we started to do was to socialise the way we communicate. So how many of you got Workplace, Facebook for Business? Oh man, right. To put it into perspective, again, the way that we communicated was through email 8 months ago. We introduced Workplace about 4 months ago. Idea of scale for a company 2,200 people, I think it was 60 grand. A head count. The cost of a head count. It's transformed the way that we communicate and engage. We've set up channels, we get all the social stuff on there now, people are sharing stories, and most of you will be aware, if you're not already, the power of stories in organisation, and certainly on the journey to cultural transformation, is enormous. So if you haven't looked into the power of storytelling in your company, please do, but what we're seeing is that's coming out naturally. So what we're really starting to do is to really, really appreciate the power that comes from learning from social. This idea of just don't over-control stuff. Don't feel like you need to have rules and processes. So much of what I've talked about already, when we start to introduce this, we have people who are, yeah, but I mean, what if someone says the wrong thing? You know, it's going to be public. And what if people start talking too much about social stuff and not about work? It's self-regulating. You just got to take a leap of faith. Literally leap of faith and get out of the way. The Workplace itself, which is like a Facebook for work, is such a powerful tool. And in the grand scheme of things, cheap as chips for the value that it delivers. I do know a number of startups that are using this too, and I'm hearing exactly the same story. I'm not getting anything from Facebook, so if you did wonder, I'm not getting any extra gifts, but do look into it because it's very, very powerful. We're also doing a lot of our live streams, so we've done things like, now we do, so easy, right, but CEO vlogs every month that are transmitted live through Workplace. I've just done my first ever global people and culture team I couldn't connect with all my people globally before. There's about 50 of them, and now I get to see them and they see me in the flesh through Workplace every single month. It's a brilliant tool. Okay, so as we continue on through this scene, one of the other things we've done is to automate onboarding. So we find, like most of you, we spend so much time and money and effort trying to get the best possible people through the door. And when they come through the door, they either like it or they love it. We've created in the past the most amazing blueprints for onboarding. I mean, stuff that anyone would be proud of. I've got a really great recruitment team that are kind of really taking the lead on that. But you know where it falls down? When we have to rely on bloody people. It's when we rely on people to execute, that's where this stuff starts to fall down. So for all of our efforts in getting the great people on board, their first impressions for the first 30, 60, 90 days, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, all of that goes down, has the potential to go down the drain. So my team, and this was something that I delegated to one of my teams. So every year, it's my second year I've done it, we have, for our global people and culture function, or HR, we have an annual innovation day. And it's really cool. It's a really cool event. I have most of my team coming globally. And they set the agenda. And the idea is, before the lead up to that, is they go away and they think, what's game changing in our field? Who is doing stuff that's really starting to shake the foundations of what HR is really about? And then we do a bit of a vote, and we put on this full day session, and the idea is that we take the best. We decide on 1, 2, 3 things that we can take forward. This year we took 3 things forward. So it's a really, really great event. And it's a really good opportunity, similarly to the fact that you're all here tonight, hoping that you're going to get a little nugget, at least one nugget that you can take away and kind of take home as a story. Well, we use these events to create programs of activity that we think are going to fundamentally shift our culture. What I love is the fact that it's not me that owns it, that it's actually my team decide, doesn't matter what level they might sit, what things that they want to be involved in once we give it the green light. So we use Salesforce at the moment, which is an automated marketing tool. So let's look at the most unlikely of places. It wouldn't necessarily feature in an HR stand somewhere as a great onboarding tool. But if you think about it, one of my team said, 2 or 3 levels down, said, Bertie, you know what? But marketing automation is about identifying your customers. It's about onboarding your customers, and it's about continually strengthening the loyalty with the customers. Why don't we use a tool like that to help with onboarding? Why don't we design a solution built on that platform that enables us to give a brilliant experience? So silly things like, and it sounds really simple, but this stuff means a lot. The moment someone signs a contract, within a week or 2 they get an email from their line manager saying, personalised, "Hi Janet, really pleased that it's standard up, really pleased that you've signed the contract. We at Collinson can't wait for you to join." Now, from the moment someone signs the contract to the moment they join, sometimes that could be 1, 2, 3, 6 months' time. So we've got a lot of really cool things in our automation that helps to close that gap. But it also, the journey too continues, again, right through to the 6 month, 9 month point. The other thing we've done, digital as an enabler, is, and this, on to the next one. This one I'm so proud of this, is, on the innovation day we saw this, like, it was really expensive, and it was a chatbot. And in the UK alone, my admin team, they receive about 500-600 emails every month, requests for information. How do I access the HR system? How do I find out how to book my holidays? We reckon that globally, my team get about 3,500 requests for commonly repeated asked for pieces of information. So what we've done is, and this is some of my most junior team, but brilliant, said, why don't we develop a chatbot? We don't need the money to invest in a chatbot like the product that we saw on Innovation Day. Let us figure out a different way, and they're leading on it. I'm really proud to say, although early stages, for some of you that are doing this already, it may not seem a thing. For us, this is going to be revolutionary. We just had our first response, and this is one here. Is there anything, and it's a colleague, we call it, as in Collinson. Is there anything I can help with? I said, are you real? So I must have impressed you. It says, I must have impressed you if you think I'm real, but no, I'm a virtual being. How can I help? It's just answered 3 questions now, which are going to be available in 2 weeks' time globally, which is, how do I get paid? And that is different in every single one of our countries. How do I access the HR system? And how do I book a holiday? That doesn't sound very much, but that is different in every single location globally. And now we've got Collie which was developed from the ground up, has cost us hundreds of pounds only, and that is about to go live. The attitude is the attitude. Not, a lot of what I'm talking about here is not big ticket items. You don't need big HR budgets to be able to deliver this. You need to inspire people, and I think we need to inspire people who have the desire to really want to make a difference. And we can learn so much by encouraging the people that work for us. Don't mistake for 1 second that as leaders, we need to lead the charge. Sometimes, you know what we need to do? We just need to say we want to do something new, and we need to take a seat, and we need to let our people take the charge and take us on the journey. I swear down, you will experience a different type of motivation and effort from your people than probably you've experienced so far. Okay, and then on to the final act then. So fearless is the new normal, right? So we're adopting design thinking, so the agile way of working. Again, I can't iterate it enough. If you're not using agile practices in your organisation, it doesn't matter whether you're a stuffy corporate or a creative startup, this is the way to go, because there are so many powerful, very, very simple ceremonies that come within that design thinking, within that agile way of working, that overnight actually will revolutionise the way that you get things done. It's about failing fast and not earning quickly. Well, actually, that's quite nice to earn quickly. I'm all for that as well. But to earn and learn quickly, making sure that that's what that methodology will bring. Learning fast, really quickly. As you see an opportunity to tweak, forget these long-term plans. The moment you create a long-term big plan that's going 6 months or 12 months into the future, is the moment it's out of date. Things change. The unexpected will arise almost all of the time. So, I'm sure some of you will be sitting there thinking, I've got some good plans actually, and they're all happening. If you go back to the days of people like John Cotter, who said that 80% of transformation projects in organisations fail to deliver their targets. That book, what was the book? You'll know the book. Pardon? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, and I've forgotten as well. But there was a guy called Professor John Cotter, who did a huge amount of research around why projects fail. And he reckons around 80% of projects in organisations fail to meet their targets. And most of that comes down to the fact that people are putting together these big plans, and yet you can't see what's coming up tomorrow. Let alone what's going to be happening in 6 months or 12 months' time. Seek alliances that are broad. So make sure you're connecting with people globally. Make sure that even if you're not global and you're a startup, pick the different corners of your office to make sure that you've got some real champions for change. Adopt the social principles. So this is around create conversations, share stories, do what you can to make sure that those stories go viral. That's the stuff. I still remember stories from companies that I worked in years ago. They may have been folklore, but for me, I still tell them to this day. I won't bore you today, but I've got a bag of them. Stories resonate with people, and they fire them up for the journey. Last but not least, set clear direction, and then get the hell out of the way. I'm enormously passionate about the stuff that we're here to talk about today. I don't know everything. I'm learning all the time. I'm being challenged all the time. That's great. We're all only human after all. Apes without hair. Some of us with less hair than others. But ultimately, I think there's so much that we can learn from each other. So it's really encouraging to know that people like you go out of your way to come along to events like this to say, is there an opportunity for me here? So thanks very much for your time.